Morning. Let us be very still. Something in what I am saying must be discerned between the lines. The physical ear can never hear truth any more than the physical tongue can utter truth. Now, prayer is not speech. Prayer is not the arranging of words, not a careful grammar offered up to an absent God. Prayer is a state. It is entered, not said. It is realized, not recited. And the moment you know that, a door that was never on a hinge appears where the wall once seemed. Now then, I am going to say something that your habit will resist. Asking is not faith. Asking is the confession that supply is not here. The moment you ask, you have affirmed a distance and a delay. You have trained your consciousness to live outside the kingdom, to live in the hope that tomorrow will finally permit what now denies. That is why so many holy-sounding prayers leave the heart unwatered. They are rehearsals of absence. They are elegant statements of not yet. My kingdom is not of this world. Hear it where the ear cannot. My kingdom is not of this world. It isn't this world improved. It isn't this world protected. It isn't even a perfect this world. Therefore, prayer cannot be the attempt to fix this world. God does not enter the human scene as a repairman to tighten a bolt here and patch a leak there. The kingdom is a state of grace, already whole, and it is only entered. Those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth, not in noise, not in tomorrow. The prayer Jesus taught is not primarily audible. After this manner was never an invitation to recite at heaven. It was a map for the soul to leave the market and step into the sanctuary without moving an inch. The words are a raft. The crossing is silence. Between one thought and the next, a presence announces itself without syllables, without bargain, without the theater of asking. In that gap, supply is not promised. It is present. Now, in this room, not one of us is here to debate theology. Nobody. Nobody. We are not going to improve our theories. We are going to test away in consciousness. We are going to abandon the sentiment that asking pleases God and discover that asking postpones grace. We will learn to recognize, to renounce, to be still until realization dawns, not as a sentence, but as government. We will sit inside the sentence the ear can't hear and let it do what no sentence ever did. Be quiet. Drop your petitions at the door. We will not be heard for our much speaking. We will be found for our effortless being. Now, enter. Now then, let us be honest about the habit. God, give me, heal me, guide me, help me. It sounds humble. It kneels. It lowers the voice. It sprinkles holy words like incense and calls the sweetness faith. But listen beneath it. Asking says, I am here and God is elsewhere. I am now and God will be later. I lack, and if I behave correctly, the giver may come to my address with a package. That is not humility. That is metaphysics inverted. That is the personal sense appointing itself the manager of grace. It is why asking feels good for a moment and empty the next. Asking gives the self the feeling of movement. Something was done. Words were said, a duty performed. But the inner confession has not changed. It is not here. And consciousness is trained by what it confesses, not by what it recites. If you continually declare by your posture that supply is absent, do not be surprised when the atmosphere you live in feels like absence. Nobody prays for what they already know is present. Now, see the hidden contract. Petition turns prayer into a negotiation with time. Tomorrow, next week, when the money comes, when the body changes, when the child returns, when the boss notices. The mind draws a line across the calendar and tries to drag God to a date. The minute prayer reaches into tomorrow, it leaves grace. It has already moved out of "my kingdom is not of this world" and into the world of waiting and wages, the world where outcomes are purchased by proper phrasing. There is no God in that scene. There is only barter. Why is this so? Because asking keeps you personal. The I that asks is the I that fears, plans, calculates. That I lives under law, cause and effect, reward and penalty, sow and reap by personal effort. Under law, you must manage, you must secure, you must produce. Under grace, you are governed. The river moves of itself. But as long as the asker holds the reins, grace stands aside. Not as a punishment, grace does not punish, but because personal sense cannot occupy the same space as spiritual government. Two masters cannot sit in one chair. So do not flatter yourself that petition is pious. It is often subtle control wearing a bowed head. It is the ego refusing to die and choosing instead to beg. I do not say this to wound. I say it to end the wound. When you find yourself saying, "Give me," notice that a future has just been invented and a distance installed. Notice that the one speaking is the one trembling. Stop, even for a split second. Withdraw the bargain. Let the asking self fall silent. In that unguarded instant, what is already present can be recognized as present. And the kingdom is entered, not later, not earned, now. Now then, let us put a stone under the foot. Two realms, not two places, not two universes stacked like floors, but two orders of awareness. This world is the realm of appearance, change, opposites, fear, cause and effect, reward and penalty, hope and disappointment, birth and death. It is the marketplace of bargains and the courtroom of law. My kingdom is not of this world. Hear it. Not this world improved, not this world protected, not even a perfect this world. Another order altogether, the order of is. Spirit, actuality, revelation. In this world, you can point to the storm, the deficit, the symptom, and you can measure them. And all your measurements will be accurate and utterly without truth. In the kingdom, you do not measure. Light reveals. There is no God in the human scene as the human scene. There is no deity to be moved, no divine object to be carried from here to there by syllables. God does not enter the human scene like a surgeon walking into an operating room because you called him by name. God is. The kingdom is. And when consciousness yields, the scene is shown for what it is. Appearance under law, melting before grace. If you set out to improve the human scene, you have accepted the human scene as real authority. You have enthroned cause and effect and asked God to bless it. You are still a repairman with a holier tool belt. That is not prayer. That is idolatry. The kingdom is not the human scene with nicer weather. The kingdom is the light by which weather is recognized as shadow play. The moment you try to push shadows into shape, you will exhaust yourself and accuse God of delay. Supply, health, peace are not prizes extracted from the world system by correct statements. They are properties of the kingdom itself, qualities of being, not commodities. You cannot drag them across the border like contraband. You do not add peace to a warring mind. You stand where peace is government, and the war loses a claimant. You do not force supply into lack. You awaken in the atmosphere where lack has no definition. You do not wrestle the body into health. You rest in life, and the body reports as it can under that government. Now, prayer, then, is not getting God to do. Prayer is the transition of consciousness from this world's premise to the kingdom's fact. It is relocation, not persuasion. Do you remove darkness by arguing with it? No. You move to the switch, or rather, you become still enough to notice the window already open. The split second when thought stops and the quiet is felt, that is the crossing. Not words. Yielding. Nobody in this room needs a better strategy for fixing appearances. Nobody. What is needed is the humility to leave their jurisdiction. Take no thought was not poetry. It was method. When you no longer project outcomes into tomorrow and no longer bend God toward events, you feel a governance that does not consult your plan. Forms will reassemble in that light. Or they will not. But you will have passed from anxiety to assurance, from barter to grace, from repairing the earth to witnessing it melt. And from there, we can live. Now then, time is the oldest thief of prayer. The mind loves tomorrow because tomorrow lets it remain manager. But grace is not a scheduled train. Grace is a state, a presence. Now. If you do not enter now, you do not enter at all. Because there is no door later. There is only this instant of is, and either you are in it, or you have wandered into imagination and called it devotion. Try this. Try to live 1 minute from now. Not think about it. Live it. Breathe a minute from now. Spend $1 a minute from now. Forgive a minute from now. Receive supply a minute from now. You cannot. A minute from now is a complete vacuum. The mind throws up pictures and plans and strings them like lanterns in an empty room, then bows to its own decorations and names them reality. That is how time hijacks prayer. It gives you shadows labeled soon, and you kneel before them. There is no kingdom of heaven tomorrow, and there is none yesterday. Whenever reality blooms, it is now. This is why Petition almost always leans forward. God, will you? By next week? Even the pious trick, thank you in advance, is tomorrow wearing gratitude's mask. It is still a wager with time. It still says, not yet. And the atmosphere of not yet is the atmosphere of exile. In that climate, you remain a beggar rehearsing the future, and beggars do not sit on the throne of is. Notice your body when you leave now. Fear is the body's confession that the mind has run ahead to a scene without God and is trying to survive there. Regret is the mind walking backward to a grave where it thinks life was lost. Both are outside the kingdom. My peace is not there. My government is not there. The minute you attempt to live in the past or the future, you have denied the only place spirit reveals itself, the split second without thought, the unscheduled instant of recognition. Take no thought for the morrow. Do not decorate that. Obey it. It does not forbid planning. It forbids living in a plan. It commands that life, guidance, supply be received as present government, not as postponed wages. When you are still enough to be here, there is a sense, not a sentence, a sense, that everything necessary is functioning now. Not promised, functioning. You feel the reins fall from your hands. the river carries. Now then, if prayer is now, asking becomes irrelevant. Asking points to later. Realization announces is. The only honest prayer in the kingdom is recognition. Thy kingdom is, and the silence that follows. Stand there. Let the habit reach for tomorrow, and do not go with it. Remain where you can actually live. Remain where grace is. Now. Now then, let us name the culprit, not to punish it, but to stop serving it. Personal sense. The inner narrator who says, my plan, my demonstration, my supply, my health, my safety. The manager, the arranger. The little governor who believes it must keep the sky from falling by thinking fast enough. It writes lists at midnight. It bargains in prayer. It peers into tomorrow with a ruler and calls that foresight. That is the one who asks. That is the one who fears. Personal sense lives under law, cause and effect, debt and payment, effort and reward. Therefore, it is always calculating. It must know where the next dollar will come from, who will say yes, which symptom will subside, or else it cannot sleep. And the body reports the confession, a tightening in the chest, a dryness in the mouth, a churn in the belly. What is the body saying? I am going to have to make this happen. I am alone in a world without present God. That is fear. Do not adorn it. Hear its sentence for what it is, a pledge of independence from grace. Now you can understand why asking strengthens fear. The one who begs is the same one who believes it lacks and must persuade life to change. It kneels to a future and calls that worship. It believes in wages, the right phrase, the long recitation, the proper sincerity, and it expects payment later. But grace is not wages. My kingdom is not of this world, not of wages, not of bargains, not even of holy bargains. Every petition uttered from personal sense engraves the self deeper and deepens its anxiety. Two masters cannot sit in one chair. If personal sense occupies it, grace does not govern, not because grace withholds, but because you have named another government and sworn loyalty to it. What then is the alternative? Not I was, not I will be. I am. Better yet, listen between the words. Is. Present being without adjective, without achievement, without plan. Is. This is not grammar. It is government. The moment you rest as is, the reins slip from the fist of personal sense. There is a sense, not a sentence, that life is functioning, that supply is not on its way, but is, that guidance is not a voice from across the street, but the very mind you are now using. You still write checks and keep appointments, but you are no longer the cause of outcomes. You are a transparency through which government flows. Prayer, then, is not the empowerment of the personal self. It is its quiet dismissal. The manager retires. The scorekeeper lays down the pencil. The asker goes mute. And in the split second when that thought stops, truth rushes in. Not a new thought, not a better plan. Presence. That is the beginning of government by grace. So when fear rises, and it will until it won't, do not argue with it. Notice the voice that says, I must. That is the whole dream. Step back 1 inch in the soul. Let the sentence fall away. Breathe once without tomorrow. Thy kingdom is. Then be still long enough for is to announce itself. Not later. Now. And you will feel it. The chair has one occupant, not the anxious I, but the quiet that rules. Now then, after this manner, not say these words to move God, but enter this way and the noise will stop. The Lord's Prayer is not a script for begging. It is a map out of personal sense into grace. The ear can recite it and remain unchanged. The soul can follow it and be relocated. Each clause is a step of recognition that removes you from law and installs you under government. Walk it as manner, not as magic. Our Father. Recognition, not request. Not my private deity for my private agenda. Our. The pronoun itself dissolves isolation. Father, source, life, the very is of being, not a distant parent to convince. In heaven, not a place above clouds, a state of consciousness not of this world. With that, the asker is already quieter. The manager has no leverage before a universal source that is present. You have not gained favor. You have relinquished separation. Hallowed be thy name. Do not flatter deity. Sanctify consciousness. The name is the nature, the isness of God. To hallow it is to stop using it. Stop turning the holy into a handle for getting outcomes. Reverence is the stilling of mental traffic until the presence is felt. A split second of silence, and the truth rushes in, and the earth melts. Thy kingdom come. Consent, not a plea for a future event. My kingdom is not of this world, therefore it cannot arrive in time. Come means, let it be revealed here where I am. Yield the sense of a human scene to the actuality of grace. Stop pulling the kingdom toward appearances. Let appearances be seen in the light of the kingdom. This is transition, not improvement. Thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. End of outlining. No more dictating form, time, method. On earth, as in the outward arrangements, let the same government function that already is in the inner. Not my outcomes, not my plan, not my calendar. The reins drop. You are no longer responsible for orchestrating life. You are responsible for staying still enough to be governed. Give us this day our daily bread. Nowness. Not storehouses, not forecasts. This day. Bread as every form of sufficiency. Strength, wisdom, courage, money. A right word at the right moment. Given as this moment's evidence of grace, not as wages earned, not as promises for soon. Receive. Breathe. Look for the is, not the shipment. Lead us not into temptation. God does not tempt. This is inner instruction. Do not be drawn back into personal sense, time sense, outline making. Do not slide from now into tomorrow, from recognition into bargaining, from silence into managing. Stay led by the presence felt, not by pictures feared. Deliver us from evil is then an inevitability, because evil is nothing but the belief in separation and delay. In is, it has no premise. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Final recognition. All government, all capacity, all radiance, thine, not mine. With that, begging is unnecessary. The room is quiet. The map has brought you home. Stay there. Now then, let us be exact. The physical ear can never hear truth any more than the physical tongue can utter truth. Truth is not a sentence. Truth is presence. Presence cannot ride on mental motion. It appears when mental motion ceases. There is a gap, not mystical, not dramatic, not bought with hours, just a gap. A split second when a thought stops and there is no next thought yet. That is the door. In that instant, something not your thought rushes in. Not a conclusion, not a brilliant idea. Spirit itself. And the earth melts. You have felt this and did not name it. A problem questioned you to the end of yourself. For a breath you were empty. Then a quiet, a certainty with no words, and you knew what to do. Or rather, you knew you were governed. That is the mechanism. Not long prayers, not much speaking. The split second. The rush that is not noise. This is why affirmations so often fail. You can arrange perfect words and remain entirely in the mind that fears. The phrasing can be precise, the theology flawless, and still nothing moves, because mind cannot carry spirit. Principle carries words. Words do not carry principle. Music does not come from fingering alone. The principle of harmony must be alive before the notes mean anything. So with truth. When there is no stillness, affirmations are the busy work of a manager who refuses to retire. When the split second opens, a single word, sometimes no word, transmits a universe. Now then, test it. Do not believe me. Notice the gap at the end of the exhale, before the body takes the inhale. Do not lengthen it. Do not decorate it. Just notice. There. A silence without effort. Or, in the mind, watch a thought complete its last syllable. Before the next one rises, there is a clear place. Rest there, not as a technique to get something, but as consent to be where grace is. 1 second. 2. Enough. In that stillness, you do not get supply. You perceive that supply is the nature of is, already functioning. The how and the when stop asking for answers, because they are revealed as the language of time, not of the kingdom. A sense dawns, again, not a sentence, that life is moving as provision, guidance, adjustment. You may find that the body loosens its argument, that an idea appears with no strain, that a call comes, that an opening you could not have invented presents itself. But do not turn effects into idols. The treasure is the government you felt. The river moves of itself. Stay strict with this. When the mind lunges for tomorrow to catch a benefit, stop. Return to the gap. 1 split second. Let the rains fall again. If silence reveals, then prayer is not asking. Prayer is consenting to be still. Now then, we are ready for a way to meet loud need without returning to bargaining. A simple, disciplined shift from petition to realization, practiced until grace is felt as present government. Now then, when need shouts, the room of the mind fills with bargains. Stop. Do not speak into the noise. Enter the manner. 3 movements. Recognize, renounce, realize. Practiced, not performed. Quiet, not dramatic. This is the disciplined shift out of law into grace, until government is felt, here, now. First, recognition. Name the realm shift. Not audibly to persuade yourself, but inwardly to relocate. This appearance is not the kingdom. I am not bound to this evidence. That is not denial. That is jurisdiction. The bill is on the table. The pain writes its paragraph. The relationship throws sparks. Yes. But my kingdom is not of this world. I am not going to repair this shadow. I am going to stand in the light and let the shadow be what it is. Appearance under law. Recognition removes you from the courtroom where you are defendant, attorney, and judge. It places you in the sanctuary where there is only presence. Feel the shift even faintly. The posture changes from clutching to witnessing. Second, renunciation. Give up the outline. No dictating how, when, or through whom. Drop the future picture and the past story. Refuse to hire God as contractor for your blueprint. You will feel the hand try to seize the reins. Let it come through this job, by Friday, through this person, as this diagnosis fading. Release each of these as they arise. If a sentence helps once, say, thy will, thy way, thy when, thy whom. Then stop saying it and actually mean it. Tear up the inner contract. Let yesterday's wound go without narrating it again. Let tomorrow's calendar go without renting a room in it. Renunciation is not passivity. It is obedience to take no thought for the morrow. It removes the dam so the river may run. Third, realization. Enter stillness until the sense of God presence is felt, however faint. Then rest there without words. This is the split second. Not forcing silence. Not bargaining for results. Abide as is. The stance is not, give me supply. The stance is, thy kingdom is, therefore supply is. If words keep coming, let them pass like people in a hallway. Do not fight them. Do not improve them. Return again and again to now, quietly, stubbornly, like a hand settling on still water. 1 second. 2. Enough. Repeat, not to accumulate merit, but to remain where grace governs. From that rest, action, if any, is simple, calm, present tense. 1 step, not a 10-year plan. Make the call now. Send the note now. Eat now. Sleep now. Do the task before you without the theater of outcomes. Under grace, guidance is never frantic and never argumentative. If there is no step, do none. Continue in the daily duty with the inner government felt. The absence of orders is also order. Nobody in this room is too busy for this. Nobody. You are already breathing. Find the gap at the end of the exhale and enter. You are already thinking. Watch a thought complete and rest before the next rises. Recognize, renounce, realize. Repeat until the shouting loses jurisdiction and presence holds the room. Then watch what happens, not to praise results, but to confirm government. The river moves of itself. You do not drive it. You consent to be carried. Now then, there is a point. Not a tapering off of worry into religiosity. A point. A moment when all the truth you have read, repeated, affirmed, and argued takes on breath and ceases to be phrases. It may be 10 o'clock in the morning as you wash a cup. It may be at midnight when the house is still. It may be at 3 a.m. when fear has spent itself and you have no more bargains to offer. But hear me. Whenever it occurs now. Never tomorrow. Now. A thought stops. A split second opens, and a weight you did not know you were carrying slides from your shoulders without your help. Until then you are a student, a seeker, a diligent mind arranging spiritual sentences to keep the sky from falling. You monitor the bank account. You supervise the symptoms. You measure people for usefulness to your plan. You pray as a manager. Then the point arrives. The reins slip. The little governor retires without ceremony. The posture changes from, "How will I manage?" to, "Thy kingdom is." You do not hold presence. Presence holds you. The room inside becomes quiet in a way you could not manufacture. The burden to make life turn out drops. Not indifference, government. I tell you plainly, there is a before and an after. Before, you live under law. Wages, reward, penalty, cause and effect, and you ask God to bless your laws. After, you live under grace. Guidance is not an occasional miracle you must deserve. It becomes the natural way decisions form. Supply is not a special dispensation for crises. It is the atmosphere you discover you were already breathing. Protection is not a set of lucky escapes. It is the absence of exposure in a consciousness where separation and delay have lost their language. My kingdom is not of this world. Not even an improved this world. Another order. You feel it, not as fireworks, not as voices, but as rest. You say, "But I have struggled so long." Fine. Keep quiet and go ahead and struggle. Do not tell stories about it. Nobody is advanced by complaining. All of the years of my struggles did not entitle me to grace. They merely wore out the manager so that a split second could appear. Struggle is not proof of failure. It is the friction of personal sense grinding to a stop. Stay with the manner. Recognize. Renounce. Realize. The event meets fidelity, not theatrics. Do not look for signs in emotions. The proof is simpler. You find you cannot maintain anxiety. The mind reaches for tomorrow, and the hand will not take it. You notice a quiet yes or no inside that needs no argument. You act without the theater of outcomes. Things reorder with no hero in the story. A bill that looked immovable dissolves into an ordinary adjustment. A body that spoke loudly softens its voice. A relationship drops its contest without a winner. Do not turn these reports into idols. The demonstration is not the change of scenes, it is the end of your private responsibility for them. From this point on, you still live in this world, but not of it. Temptations to plan, to fear, to outline will visit. Let them. They have lost jurisdiction. Return to the gap. Rest where is. Under grace, you are not the producer of life, you are its transparency. And you will know it has happened when you cannot pick up the old burden again, even if you try. The shoulders are bare, the government is within. Now then, do not mistake non-asking for passivity. Under grace, the engine does not stall, it changes drivers. Action remains, but it is not panicked, not outlined, not bought with fear. The river still moves, only now it carries you. The difference is simple. You no longer act to get, you act because government moves as you. Pressure drops, clarity increases. You do the next thing present, not the 10th thing imagined. That is not laziness. That is obedience to is. With money, stop pleading for more. More is the language of a beggar in time. Bread is the language of now. Give us this day means receive sufficiency as present government. Then let the quiet directive form the step. Often it is surprisingly ordinary. You open a drawer and find the one neglected invoice to send. You call the bookkeeper instead of hiding from the ledger. You simplify. You let go of a purchase that belonged to a tomorrow you no longer live in. You forgive a small debt you were clutching, and in the liberation, channels open you could not have engineered. This is not bargain. This is principle. Supply is not a shipment, it is an atmosphere. Stand in it first, then move. And if a windfall appears, say thank you and refuse to enthrone it. The treasure is the governance felt, not the check. With health, stop fighting symptoms as if they were powers. That struggle is worship offered to fear. Abide in spiritual actuality, life as the substance and activity of being. My kingdom is not of this world. It is not of cells in argument with each other. Be still until the sense of life is more actual than the report. Then let the body be ruled by that life without your supervision. You will find you are kinder to the body, not harsher. Rest comes. Cadence steadies. If medicine and appointments belong to this day, go, without drama, without bargaining, without announcing success or failure. The point is government, not proof to the mind. With relationships, notice how asking others is the outer version of asking God. Manipulation is petition in costume. Please be what I need so I can feel safe. That is personal sense deputizing people to do God's work. Return to inner fullness first. From that sufficiency, you may say yes or you may say no. You may apologize without self-loathing. You may set a boundary without making an enemy. Conversation becomes clean. Fewer words, more meaning. You are no longer negotiating for oxygen. You are sharing air that is already here. Think in principle. In music, you cling to harmony even when a note is off. You do not smash the instrument. In mathematics, you hold to the rule through mistakes. You do not sue the theorem. Grace is principle in action. Hold to is in the face of appearances. Act from it. Correct quietly when you notice you have lunged into tomorrow. Return to the split second. Breathe there. Then do the next small right thing and let outcomes form without your rehearsal. Under grace, supply ceases to be a crisis and becomes climate. Guidance comes without argument. Provision appears without the clang of urgency. Anxiety cannot find a handle because there is no future to grip. Now then, see where this leads. If supply is atmosphere, it does not belong to private merit. It rises on no tribe and falls on none. This same manner breaks the hidden habit of judging who deserves and who does not. We go there next. Now then, if supply is atmosphere and not wages, if grace is government and not favor, then hear the hidden block that chokes the wind. Judgment. The mind that divides this room into worthy and unworthy cannot receive the complete light. The moment you assign deserts, you install yourself as judge under law. And under law there is always lack, always fear, always a right side and a wrong side, fighting for a blessing that is already present but cannot enter a courtroom. The kingdom will not be seen through a gavel. It will be felt where the hand is empty. A judging mind fogs the glass and then complains that the sun is dim. Do you remember Peter? A sheet lowered, creatures of every kind, and a voice. Rise, eat. Peter, religious, sincere, trained in distinctions, says, Not so. Nothing unclean has ever touched my lips. And the voice answers, one of those lines the physical ear cannot hear. Call nothing unclean that God has cleansed. This was not a dietary lecture. This was God tearing down a wall in Peter so the Gentile door could open. Until that condemnation dissolved, Peter could not hear, Go to Cornelius. Not that God would not speak, Peter could not receive. Sectarian thought is earwax in the soul. Prejudice is a padlock on guidance. The light does not fail. It is blocked by labels. Now then, watch how asking sneaks judgment into prayer. Bless me. Keep them in their place. Prosper our group. Expose the others. Heal my child. Teach my enemy a lesson. That is not prayer. That is tribal litigation addressed to heaven. It says, good is on our side, bad is on theirs. Arrange the world accordingly. My kingdom is not of this world, not of sides, not of superior and inferior, not even of virtuous and vicious. In the kingdom there are no opponents to conquer, no outsiders to convert into likenesses of ourselves. There is only one presence revealing itself as harmony wherever the wall has fallen. The corrective is not moral polish. It is metaphysical clarity. In is, there is no other. One law, one life, one mind being all. The sun rises on the evil and on the good, not wavering to reward or punish, but because shining is its nature. Lao Tzu called it the Tao, water that nourishes all and contends with none. Buddha named it thusness, just so, without preference. Jesus said, I am. Not I will become like you, not you must become like me. Paul stripped the badges, neither Jew nor Greek, bond nor free. All of these are different garments on the same word. Is. Present being, not of this world. How do we practice this? When the impulse to label comes, and it will, stop. Do not embroider it with stories. Recognize. This heat in me is the old court convening. Renounce the case. I will not hold a private jurisdiction over God's universe. Then realize, split second, thy kingdom is. Rest there until the sentence dissolves. If words help once, say, what God hath cleansed, call not common. Then be silent and let the rush arrive. You will notice at once the room brightens. Guidance that was tangled becomes simple. Supply flows without favoritism. Conversations lose the hidden demand to win. You remain in this world, but not of its contests. Stay strict with this. Judgment is sophisticated. It will disguise itself as wisdom, as loyalty, as justice. Nobody in this room is made safer by condemning another of God's children. Nobody. The mind that condemns narrows itself and then tries to breathe through a straw. Drop the labels, and the silence deepens. Deepen the silence, and grace has no obstruction at all. Now then, we are ready to live by a rule that removes both time and judgment in one motion. Give up tomorrow, return to now, and let the inaudible teach you. Now then, a rule for the week. Strict, simple, not dramatic. Give up yesterday. Give up tomorrow. None whatsoever. Each time you notice mind leaning back into what was or lunging forward into what if, stop. Do not discuss it. Do not decorate it. Return to now. Consent to be where grace is. This is not a vow about the rest of your life. This is a present obedience for 7 days, one moment at a time. Set a manner. Several times a day, on no man's schedule but your own. On waking, before a meal, when a door closes behind you, at the red light, at the end of an email. Stop. Not long, a split second. Let a thought finish. Do not reach for the next one. In that clean space, do not ask for anything. Simply acknowledge, Our Father, thy kingdom is. If the breath helps, notice the gap after the exhale. If a word helps once, say it and then be quiet. 10 seconds of stillness are more than much speaking. No bargaining, no outlining. Presence, felt even faintly, is the practice. If you relapse into petition, and you will until you will not, do not condemn yourself. Do not write a story about failure. Notice the asker at work. Smile at the old manager. Then pivot. Now then. Recognize that you wandered into time. Renounce the outline you were constructing. Realize, split second, thy will, thy way, thy when. And be still. Start over 100 times in a day if needed. Each return is obedience. Each return thins the habit of delay. Each return opens the door that never closed. Do not depend on any person, teacher, book, recording, or room for your good. Nobody in this room is the source of good to any other one in this room. Nobody. You do your own transition. You take your own hands off your own reins. If a line of scripture appears, use it as a door, not as food. Enter and drop the line. If my voice echoes in your ear, let it escort you to silence, and then dismiss it. The inaudible will teach you, not the printed word, not the spoken word. The rush in the gap where thought stops. By this, you will remain in this world, but not of it. You will be a presence that blesses without being governed by appearances. Supply will feel like climate rather than crisis. Work will simplify. Relationships will lose their theater. You will not celebrate effects. You will rest in government. And you will discover the paradox that seals the weak. The moment you stop asking for grace, you find it under your feet and in your breath. The very ground you were standing on, unnoticed, while you begged. My kingdom is not of this world. It is now. So the rule stands. Give up tomorrow, return to now, and let the inaudible teach you. Keep it. Keep it. Keep it.